Hey, I'm Val, and as some of you already know, I did a challenge a while ago where I wanted to see if you could beat Epic Mickey Rebrushed without paint or thinner, to which the answer was obviously no. But I ended up with a total paint and thinner count of 107, which is pretty high if you ask me, but now that I have more experience with the game, I was able to drastically, almost by half, reduce the total paint and thinner count, both with different game choices made, as well as new ways to avoid having to use them entirely. Also, bosses, like the first run, will be counted as one paint or thinner if it is completely unavoidable, like Clock Tower and Peatronic. Enemies also count towards the counter too, so non-paint or thinner ways to dispose of them is the way to go. I do not count Guardians as not using paint or thinner, as you unlock them from using paint and thinner, so they don't reduce the total count. And with that, let's get into the definitive run on how much paint and thinner you actually need to beat Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Just like the first run, our counter already goes up with one paint needed to open this door. You can jump over this thinner tutorial wall with the well-timed spin jump, and sadly, one final thin to destroy the ground to remove the boulders. This jump allows you to make it up to the first of two levers, and now it's time for the jump that I deemed most likely possible but really hard to do during my last run, as, well, the name explains itself. It is a very tight jump, and sadly, Mickey cannot grab the ledge for some reason. So I gave it another shot, trying to see if it was indeed possible. I try not to give up if there is any slight hope of anything being possible, and after a few attempts, we already saved one paint. Fantastic. All you need to do left is some easy jump around these rocks, and boom, we're off to a great start. I've also learned that here, there are two options, use 2 paint to fix it, or 1 swing to destroy it, and last time I was stupid and used 2 paint, so this time I go full unga bunga with this gear, allowing us progression. And now we just run our way to the forced encounter, using 2 thins. As last attempt I went with paint, so I thought I'd switch it up this time around, but that's okay. The next encounter we can use the thinner river to throw all the enemies into. This time I decided to paint the 3 hippo heads instead of thinning the 3 pipes, as the count won't be any different, giving us a sketch that I missed on my first run. I damage boost off the thinner, and don't ask me why there's money, as if someone died, nothing happened, I promise. And hit all of the valves, this time also being evil and not saving the gremlins unless I know they'll be useful for this challenge. Within the next area, I go straight for the dragon, climbing these not rotating platforms to reach the lever, summoning the dragon that allows us to progress. And then once again use this tree to reach the 2 pressure plates more easily without having to risk paint or thinner. In Gremlin Village, we add yet another 7 to escape the deteriorating village, bringing our total count up to 14. And just when I thought the scenery was as bad as it could get, we're now in France. And worse yet, my tactical respawn didn't work, forcing me to see the Eiffel Tower once again. Second death put me where I wanted, right in front of the Colosseum, and here I got a legendary triple kill. And then the rest of the fight was just throwing the remaining blots into the thinner pool below. Once again, we are skipping painting these 2 gears, as I found a way to jump over the gate. Only issue is, it is really hard and annoying to pull off. You kind of just need to get lucky, and for me it took me 4 minutes to pull off, which isn't long, but it's just jumping for 4 minutes, so it's kind of boring. But after this, 2 more jumps cover this door, and now it's just the boss, which, as stated before, will count as 1 towards the counter, as there was no way to skip some of them. Yes, I said some. I found some new techniques on my own too. At Mean Street is where things really start. I get the 2 gears, and in my last run, I used 1 thin to get my first power spark to activate the projectors. However, this time I used some money to buy a paint bundle to unlock this item from the usher, and then donate it to the museum to get my first power spark, and now we can continue to OsTown. Here I grab a power spark from my roof, and the least painty and thinny way is to kill a man, as well as give up our phone addiction to access the bridge to Junk Mountain with only 1 thin used. At the base of Junk Mountain, all you need to do is run over here and save this gremlin, and that's it. no paint or thinner necessary. Deeper, or well, higher up the mountain, my creative juices start flowing. But after these birds, you can really see my brain's gears moving. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Get out of here, stupid birds. Anyways, so you know how thinner has the tendency to launch you in the opposite direction of where you hit it? How about we use that to our advantage to cross this gap? It took a handful of attempts, but eventually... Yep, no paint or thinner needed to cross the gap. Amazing. And here you can just jump around, and once inside we find our first mandatory pump to fill. This time going with the thinner, and after completing this short obstacle course, it has us exit at the Gremlin who makes the path for us to progress. Here I make sure to waste no time and get straight to killing, having the Spladooshes thin the ground for enemies for me to smack them into. On the downside, I could not find a way to cross this gap without having to paint a segment of the bridge, or should I say stairs. Trust me, I tried. So I gotta add just one. We complete the Oswald trials, and return to OsTown, complete this race, and grab this power spark from this roof you're supposed to thin, and return to Mean Street to get another from the usher before purchasing a few more from the store, that being 5. And then once again pay a thief to get a book back that he stole. Again, I'm not sure how that works. And then I got to arrest some children for Pete because why not? It's fun. And donate something to the museum for our 13th power spark, despite only needing 5. But now we are ready to progress, so to Tomorrow City we shall go. And once again I use the same method of saving this Gremlin, as he saves us from having to paint way too many gears. Further in we can save this Gremlin as he opens the thinner fall just enough for us to progress, but unfortunately we are forced to thin a slobber to continue our journey. We unlock the TV we only use to progress, and from here, we just need to hit this one valve, oh and make sure to grab some TVs, you know if you saw the last episode, and then save this Gremlin and we are good to progress. This room was a nightmare last time, with so many issues that came up unexpectedly, but this time I was prepared. I was ready. I had TVs. So I immediately make my way up to power the pointless lift just because I wanted to, before painting the power supply to work the elevator to make our way to Petetronic. I actually had to restart him because I was stupid and died, but hey, we add 1 to this fight as stated before, killing him this time. And back to Mean Street, we throw some splatters off the edge of the map and save this Gremlin. Then I buy 1 power spark before returning to Ventureland. Or should I say, not returning, because we've never been there before. I nab yet another free power spark and accidentally find a way out of bounds, which is not useful in any way whatsoever, but it's cool that I found it. And yes, you fall infinitely, without respawning, forcing you to restart. I checked after picking up the power spark I actually wanted to get. I buy the compass off Pat, give Salt ice cream because it is the morally incorrect option, and collect the 3 masks, and I'm ready to continue our pursuit of Hook. By the way, if you made it this far and aren't subscribed, I like to do dumb challenges, so if you find that interesting, a like and sub would be greatly appreciated. The road to 5,000 subs continues. These videos also do take a while to make, and I stream most of them live. This one was done exclusively on Twitch, so go follow me there if you want to join in on these challenges. I thin this spot to get this key as well as the door frame to enter the prison to free this guy whose name I will once again not attempt to say. I collect a sword and we continue our journey into the wooded area, in which I'll have to thin 3 bushes to reveal symbols needed to progress, leading us back to where we were before. We talk to Billy and continue to this annoying area of the game. It starts off simple by just jumping and damage boosting until you get here. This room has 3 pumps, one of which you can't access without thinning the wall first, adding 4 to our counter. I did try to use this sweeper and after several attempts was able to get him to a spot where he could throw thinner at me, but it decided to be a pacifist and just not, which was really annoying, but it is what it is. You have to thin this one of 2 metal fences to progress, adding 2 to the total, and now we're at the final part of Ventureland, Skull Island, and if you watched the last video, nothing has improved here. But it's still, get this dude to thin this rock, then the anchor, then this hole, and get the dude to be helpful again, and finally thin this rock and anchor, oh, and paint the steering wheel. And now it's time for Hook himself. Last time I was able to find a way to do the whole boss with only one paint, and surprisingly, I was able to reduce this. Yes, 0 paint or thinner needed to beat Captain Hook. I'm honestly so proud of this play, and it was amazing to do live. First, jump where the stairs were, and then jump onto the mast of the ship, wait here and have him thin the sail. Once it's raised, jump onto the part that sticks out, and then dash jump onto the swinging platform. And from here, it's the same as last time. Jump here, another dash jump, have him thin the sail one last time, and swing jump. And that's the whole boss without having to use a single paint or thinner. Once we return to Mean Street, we are now told to abuse children to get power sparks out of them. Don't try this at home, trust me, it won't end well. But now we already have enough to continue to Lonesome Manor. This time I won't make the mistake of being a kind person. I will thin these 3 lamps, and it is far better than having to paint 8 unlit ones. Outside of the manor, just like last time, does not need any paint or thinner to get the comically large anvil to continue deeper into the foyer. However, the foyer itself has a small handful of paints, that being 2, to put the spirits back. This room can also be done completely paint or thinner free, so it will be skipped. Now, for the library, this one needs quite a few. Hit this dude down to make him thin the wall for you, paint the first, second, and third symbol. Also make sure to free this gremlin, he's useful. Also sadly there's a slobber you need to kill. Thankfully this piano room can be scaled without having to do anything special, it's just a little annoying, more than a little, but make sure to free this gremlin too, he's your friend. Oh, did I mention that this piano room is annoying? But once at the top, the Mad Doctor thankfully goes a lot smoother than last time, as I have made sure to stock up on anvils and TVs before attempting him. Oh, and this skeleton decided to aura farm. After returning to Junk Mountain, this is where I ended the first of 2 streams. But now it's time for the final boss, who I counted as 1, and this time I kill him because why not. And now it's time for the tentacles. Last time I added a paint for each total tentacle, but while editing the last video, I realized right here. As you can see, I swung, and it broke the thingamajiggy, meaning you can do that to all the tentacles without paint or thinner, drastically lowering our total count from last time, and it works for every area, as they are easily accessible, so I chose to speed up all of the areas to the speed where it's really hard to tell what's going on. You're welcome, and I'm sorry. Once again, this room has only 1 added to the counter, as there's slobber at the end, and you have to paint this gargoyle's head. Now, the next area, it's hard to tell if the paint or thinner path is better, but this time I went thinner. They could be the same, but any and all walls that were thinned were done by the sweepers in the area, adding 4 to our counter. And now it's time for the towers. If you've watched the last video, you know you can go through every single tower without having to paint or thin a single time, other than the gargoyles at the top. So, as a solution, I would just speed up the footage by, well, I'm not sure yet since I'm currently writing the script, so it could be really fast, or not that fast, depending on how long I feel like speaking for this one segment. Not sure though. Oh wait, and we're done, and all that's left at the top of the tower is to paint the 4 gargoyles, and that's Tower 1, forks. I really wrote forks, I meant folks. Tower 2 you're meant to go through quickly, painting and thinning being optional just if you want to stop the tentacles from popping out, but other than that, it is by far the easiest and simple of them. But yeah, it could be longer if I speak longer, which I won't, this video is already long enough, and once again, add 4 to the counter for the gargoyles at the top, and now it's time for the final of 3. The 3rd tower has the most unique way of being conquered. Put a TV on this statue's head before jumping up to skip a good portion of the stage, then place an anvil to get a slight bit of ground in order to make this jump, and from here, there are a few more simple jumps, then a spin jump to get on top of this lamp, and then 1 more to reach the platform, and you're good as gold. Just 4 more gargoyles. In case you didn't watch the first attempt, at this point, we had 100 paints and thins used, and now we're only at 64. Yeah, there's been some pretty big improvements to this run. This might actually be the lowest possible without any game-breaking glitches or skips. But now it's time for the final major parkour section. and again, to do without paint or thinner, as I'm just goated like that. I take just the right amount of attempts to make this barely possible jump, and after that, it's smooth sailing up to the inside of the Blot. And if you remember what I said earlier about how you can just slap the Blot's green orbs things to save a paint or thin, well, I do have great news for you. You can go through the whole Blot section without having to use a single paint or thin. You heard that right. That means our total paint and thinner counter is only 64 compared to the 107 we got last time, which seems to be the lowest you can get. If you want to try to get lower, feel free to try, and with that, thank you much for watching, have a good day, and a good night.